All right, everybody, we are going to get started. Thank you so much for introducing yourselves in the chat. Once again, just a reminder, please make sure anytime you use the chat, you're addressing it to all panelists and attendees, not just all panelists. That way we can all see your message. Just a couple of housekeeping things to go over before we get started. To orient yourself to Zoom, you should have a toolbar that'll either be at the top or the bottom of your screen. That's where you can access the chat, the Q&A function, and mute your, or anything else that you need to fix. Just another tip, if things are wonky on the screen, if you can't see us or you want to make something bigger, you have the power to do that yourself. You can actually use your mouse and actually drag images around, make them bigger or smaller. So just a couple things to orient yourself to Zoom. All right. A few other expectations and guidelines. Please try to use the Q&A feature for questions. Oftentimes, if you ask a question in the chat, it'll just get lost. So please use the Q&A function for that. Again, one more time, when using chat, please make sure your messages are being sent to all panelists and attendees, not just all panelists. And please keep in mind, we're all working from home right now. We're all adjusting to the new life in a pandemic. So tech problems may happen. If you hear some background noise or if there's any glitching, please just be patient with us. And if you do get disconnected, there are some call-in numbers that should have been sent to you in your email. So feel free to join us by phone if you get kicked off of your video. And finally, we are going to be recording this, so I'm going to start the record right now. So if you have to leave early, then you can always come back and check out the recording on our archived webinars. So we have a great lineup of guest facilitators here today joining me. I am Claire Ratcliffe. I'm one of the education coordinators at the Space Science Institute. And I'll hand it over to Theresa to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Greetings from Falls Church, Virginia. I'm Theresa Schwerin with the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. And I'm also a former librarian. I've worked in public libraries and academic libraries and special libraries many years ago, but still very fond of libraries. My local library is Fairfax County Library. And, oh, I am so sorry, Claire. Should I start the presentation?
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay, just introducing. Okay.
Yeah, just introducing other facilitators we have on today. We have Vivienne Byrd from the Los Angeles Public Library, Donna and Brittany from the LaSalle Public Library. Yeah, Vivienne, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Vivienne. I think you guys can see me. And I am a STEAM librarian with Los Angeles Public Library. I work under the Department of Exploration and Creativity. And I am also the lead for Los Angeles Public Library's Full STEAM Ahead initiative and citizen science programs.
Hi, everyone. I am Brittany Blomquist. I am the Program Outreach Coordinator at the LaSalle Public Library in LaSalle, Illinois. And with me today in the chat, I'll be presenting. Donna will be in the chat. She is our Youth Services Librarian at the LaSalle Public Library, and we are both thrilled to be here today.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So today's agenda, we're going to start with a poll question and an icebreaker, as we love to do at StarNet. Then Theresa is going to talk about citizen science, just what that is, why it's important, and how you can do it using the Globe Observer app. Next, we're going to hear from the Los Angeles Public Library and the LaSalle Public Library about how they've actually been able to implement citizen science in the library setting. We'll end with a group discussion and question and answer. Here's my icebreaker. You guys can answer in the chat, but I would love to hear from you all. What is a new hobby you've tried during quarantine? I know life has gotten a little crazy these days and you might have found yourself at home quite a bit more. So I know for me personally, I started picking up a couple new crafts. I tried the paint by numbers, which were a lot more difficult than I thought they would be. and a couple of punch needle kits. So those have been some hobbies that I've picked up during quarantine. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Do you have more time? And yeah, just what have you been up to? Annie from SSI asked, does building take and make kits count as a hobby? Because that's all I'm doing. Absolutely, Annie. And you are an expert at it. I think you've become, you've moved beyond hobby with that one. Awesome. So I'm seeing quilting, cross stitching. Yeah, getting into crafts, I think, is a great time to, when we have all of this downtime. Window paints initially, and then becoming an expert in virtual programming. Yep, I think we've all had to become Zoom experts at this point. And Megan says, I've got one email completely cleaned out. That is quite the accomplishment. All right, role playing, picking up, yeah, and picking up old hobbies. This is a great opportunity for that as well. Picking up some knitting. All right, Lisa is reading a book on how to play Mahjong. Awesome. And Lisa says making rovers and helicopters. That sounds awesome. Sounds like the type of stuff we like to do at the Space Science Institute. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing that. I just love to hear what people have been keeping busy with. And next we have a poll question. So we're going to start thinking about citizen science here. So my question to you is, how long have people been participating in and contributing to citizen science? And I'm going to launch this up here. You should be able to interact with that. But the possible answers are the late 1800s, the 1920s, the 1990s, or 2006. All right, looks like answers are coming in. I'll give you guys just about 3 more seconds. You can change your mind. All right, looks like pretty much everyone has voted. So I'm going to end this and share the results. So the majority of you were correct. 59% of you said the late 1800s, and that's arguably when a lot of people think citizen science really started taking off, and it happened through a Byrd survey. Through the Audubon Society, they were able to say, hey, you know, we could get a lot more data if we invite citizens who are interested and just are maybe hobbyist bird watchers to start collecting some data. So yeah, the late 1800s, this has been something that has been going on for a very long time. All right, so I am now actually going to turn it over to Theresa. Now that we know that citizen science started in the late 1800s, let's learn more about it and how you can become involved with it. So I'm going to stop sharing and allow Theresa to take over.
Great, thank you, Claire. And I am so pleased to be here to share with you NASA Earth Citizen Science through Globe Observer. And, oops, guess I could, there we go. So what is citizen science? You may have heard of it referred to as volunteer science, as crowdsourcing, as public participation in science. Those are all different ways of referring to how someone who is not a professional scientist contributes to science by either taking or making observations that can be used, or by analysis, all the way up to actually doing research projects with scientists. And I'd like you to remember this screen. It's a panel from Zine, and at the very end, I'm going to tell you about an event on September 3rd that you and your patrons can participate in. Close a couple of screens here so I can see where I'm going. Okay, so the project that I work on is called Globe Observer, and it's part of the International Globe Program, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. And Globe started and has been a program for K-12 students, a science and education program for K-12 students. And in 2016, we launched Globe Observer, which allows the public to engage in NASA science. We started with Globe Clouds and have added 3 other tools, a mosquito habitat mapper and Globe Observer land cover, and trees, which is tree heights. And many of you have participated in clouds when we've done things for Earth Day and other special events. But one thing that I'd like to say is you can do Globe Observer any day of the year. So whether you want to do this as part of a special event or an ongoing program, there are lots of different ways to get engaged with your patrons. So the one thing that these have in common, these 4 tools are all part of one app. You can do everything from your smartphone or tablet. And so they're all things that taking observations from the ground, very fine targeted observations that can complement or augment NASA's satellite-based research. And the link is on this slide for where you can download it either from the Apple Store or from Google Play. It's also in the link bank that Claire is going to share. And so when you go into the app, it takes you through all the tutorials, everything you need in order to take the observations. And here you're seeing some screens from the Clouds tool in Globe Observer. And so the far left screen, when you go to Clouds, you click New Cloud Observation to start an observation. The one thing I wanted to point out, the little orange box, check satellite flyovers. Observations at any time are useful, but for clouds are particularly useful if they're timed when a satellite is going to pass over. And so if you click that box in the app, it'll take you to a screen where you can see when the satellite's passing over, and you can set notifications to get a reminder to take an observation. And you also, within a few days of taking an observation, will get an email, a personalized email from the Globe Observer team with a satellite match, the matching image and your observations. So if you haven't used the Cloud app in a while, one thing that's new, the far right screen, there's a Clouds wizard in the app. So if you haven't used it in a while, refresh your app and check it out. It makes it even easier. You can do the manual cloud observing, or you can do the Cloud wizard that takes you right through making the observations. And this screen just shows, here's some of the connections to satellite imagery. You can see the user cloud observation in the middle there, and the satellite observation. You can see how these provide a very different perspective that gives a more complete view of the atmosphere. And on the right is a satellite-based land cover map. And underneath that is the land cover observation from a citizen scientist. And you can see that within each pixel on a large global land cover map, there can be all different kinds of land covers. So having someone on the ground to take those very specific observations is really useful to NASA scientists creating these land cover maps. All of the data that goes into Globe Observer goes into the cloud, into a publicly available database that anyone can access. You don't have to even be registered with Globe to access the data. No personal information is in that database, but all of the data and all the information is there. So one of the things that I want to share with you that we've curated for our planet Earth, but these are also evergreen resources that you can use any time of the year, are resources to support Earth citizen science in your programs. These are on the Our Planet Earth website. When you go there, if you scroll down to the Globe at Home section, and you'll see for each of the 4 tools that are in Globe Observer, a set of resources. There are tabs for activity, for taking observations, and for programming ideas in libraries. And just to walk you through what you're gonna find there. So under activities, what you'll find are simple hands-on activities that could be either like take and make, or you could put on your website, that people can do at home. They don't require special equipment. They use materials that you commonly would find at home. For each of these activities, there's a short video demo. And you see right underneath, there's a photo from a demo video from the North Hollywood branch of the Los Angeles Public Library. And what the librarian is demonstrating cloud in a jar with her daughter from home. So there is a simple activity for each of those protocols: cloud in a jar, build a clinometer. Clinometer is used to measure tree height, build a mosquito larva trap, and making a map related to land cover. So you'll find those simple activities and links to even more activities. Under the Taking Observations tab, there are links to videos related to how to take observations. Everything's in the app, but these are very short, like 2 to 3 minute videos that libraries we know have incorporated those into their program. One of the top questions that we get from our library partners is, why does NASA need your observations? There's short videos. There's one there on the right from Peter Nelson, who is the science lead for Globe Observer Land Cover. And he's talking about how he uses this data in his research, why he wants this data. And it also links to science background and related information, but we've collected them on the Our Planet Earth page for you. And then the third tab, programming ideas, things that would be useful in your library programs. We just finished August 15th, a month-long community cloud challenge. We have challenges from time to time, but you can do observations anytime, and you can do your own challenge in your library. All of the resources that we created for our cloud challenge are evergreen. They're generic in the sense of they're not tied to a date. And these are all set up things that you can pull and use in putting your own, think of it as a bio blitz, your own citizen science blitz in your community. And so there are 25 different activities related to it. Only one is related to going outside and taking observations. Safety first. We want to have ways for people to engage and be involved that doesn't require them to go outside and take observations. If it's not safe to do so, we want people to follow their local guidelines. But you can learn about clouds, create STEAM activities related to clouds, and engaging with the cloud observation community. And so I'll just share that poster. There is an activity chart that you can download. Each of those clouds links to the activities. Some people have printed it out and colored in the clouds to see how many of the activities that they've done. But one section in particular that I'd like to point out is this section under Learn that includes videos with NASA subject matter experts. And so there are 6 segments. With each, it's a scientist talking about the science paired with an educator demonstrating an activity related to the science. So check this out. There's some really, really rich information there. And you'll hear, very short time for me to talk today, but I want you to hear directly from the scientist of how they're using this in their research. One tool that I hope you'll check out as part of doing citizen science and Globe Observer is what we call a Teams tool. It's not a fancy tool. It's fairly simple, but it does some things that I think you'll find useful in organizing your program. So what this is a way for you to set up a group of people who are collecting observations that get associated with your library. So anyone who has a Globe or a Globe Observer login, and so when you download the app and register, you'll get an email with your login. Once you have that, you can log in with your email and your password. You can join or create as many teams as you wish. Whatever team someone is on, all of the teams that you're on, the data you collect will get associated with all of the teams or counted towards all of the teams that you're on. And on the right there, you'll see an example. So in Australia, the Boy Scouts of Australia wanted to do a competition, a challenge across all of their scout troops across the continent. And so teams, they had one large team, and they had each of their scout troops to create their own team. So you could see what all of the scouts were doing, as well as the individual troops could see what observations were being collected by their troop. And so over a 3-month period last summer, they took 200 land cover observations. And so you can see a map there. I think that's a good example of a way to use a team. And so very quickly, we've got a website that goes through how to do this, but within the app, you can create a team. So download the app, register, log in. On the top right-hand screen, anywhere in the app, there's a little gear icon. If you click on that, you can scroll down and click on Create a Globe Team. Enter the team name you want to use, and it'll let you know right away whether or not that name is okay, whether it's been taken already, or they've checked the names before they're assigned. But it'll let you know right away. So then you select your country, and you can optionally pick a city and zip code. And so that information is public on the Globe Teams page. Not any of the personal information of anyone who joins your team, but that information. And you'll get an email confirmation that you've successfully created a team and instructions for managing that team. We want you to join our NeiSci at My Library team. We'd love for you to create a team for your library, but we'd really like you to join our team as well. So, simply you would log into the app, and to join the NeiSci at My Library team, again, click on the gear icon, select Join a Globe Team, and there's a referral code that you need to put in. You don't get to pick your referral code. They're automatically generated. And so this team is a private team, so we know that everybody who joins is learning about it through NeiSci at My Library. And so the code there, GLIDEVQX, is what you would enter, and that's how you join our team. And so there's a link there for more information on our NeiSci at My Library team. But what you also, to manage your team, just to let you know what you can do. So when you do need to go to the Globe website to manage your team. So go to globe.gov and log in with your Globe Observer username and password. Click on Go To, item 1 is circled in red at the top of the white bar, and pick under My Organization, select the team that you want to manage and click Manage Team. And then you can see all the options that you have to manage your team. So you can select members to see a list of all the members and email addresses, and only the manager of a team can see that information, not the members of the list. By default, the person who creates a team is a manager, but then you can go in and change it to another group member if you'd like to. Some of the benefits, you could track whether people who attend your event, are they going and taking observations? You can invite your patrons to take the science home that they learn about in your program, and keep a connection to your library through your Globe Team and Globe Team page. You could set up a challenge. You could have an entire library system could have a team, and then each branch library could have their own team, and use it to coordinate volunteer members. We've had families create teams, neighborhoods create teams. So check it out. You'll have my email address. Please let me know if you have any questions. And then a couple of quick tips for teams. If you're setting up multiple teams, start the name of the team with the same string so that you've got them grouped together. So it might be your library name and the event name. If you keep your team private, it'll still show up the team page, but not the referral code. But if you want to use that to track engagement, so only the people get the code who attend your event, that's one way to do that. And so then you would distribute the team name and the referral code and the URL for the team page to patrons with the event information. And so I wanted to end with, we have an event on September 3rd related to the mosquito habitat mapper. This is for you and your patrons. This is a public event. We have scientist, author, and illustrator Lisa Gardner, who wrote and illustrated the Zika zine, and Dr. Rusty Lowe, who is the science lead for the mosquito habitat mapper, who's going to take a deep dive into how you do those observations and identify larvae with little clip-on scopes on your smartphone. So I'll stop there, and I'm really pleased to introduce two of our library partners are here today. First, you'll hear from Vivienne Byrd from Los Angeles Public Library.
Thank you, Theresa. And I'm gonna try to get my slides up. Give me a minute. Okay. Okay, thank you again, Theresa and StartNet, for this opportunity to share with you all about our neighborhood science pilot program with Los Angeles Public Library. So the neighborhood science program in Los Angeles Public Library started with a key objective. That is to augment Los Angeles Public Library's existing STEM initiative by providing community-connected, real-world, fun, and authentic learning experiences. We're hoping that by integrating citizen science project into our STEM programs, these programs will foster not just STEM interest, but conservation and environmentally minded STEM interest. So I'm going to take all of you to travel back in time with me to the world. Let me see here if I can get this to go correctly. Okay, yes. Before there was COVID-19. Our neighborhood science program back then were very community centric, in-person, interactive, and they provide firsthand learning experience through fun and hands-on activities with all the tools and equipment provided by us. These in-person programs allow participants to fortify emotional and social connections to their communities. And last but not least, patrons who attend our programs, they will be able to check out these neighborhood science kits that we created. So they will be able to do the observation in their own neighborhood, in their own backyard at their own pace. Okay, I'm having trouble here, try to get that roll over. Okay. During our in-branch neighborhood science program, the participants were given opportunities to learn about real-world issue or problem and conduct observations using the citizen science project that we're highlighting. And of course, again, we'll provide the equipments and tools. And then we will try to help them to make this experience more personal by encouraging them to check out these equipment and conduct the same observation in their home or their neighborhood. And what our goal is that by having this firsthand experience, that would really help them to see and understand that issue in discussion is not just an abstract concept or something that's only happening far, far away, but it is something real and that's happening in their own communities where they live. We typically plan our neighborhood science programs as family programs, but depending on the librarians, the content of the programs can skew towards children's, teens, or adults. For example, if it's a children's neighborhood science program, it might run it as a story time, and the activity involved would be more on how to conduct or record observations. And if it's a program that's hosted by teen librarians or adult librarians, then it will probably focus a little more on the protocols, following protocols and data literacy. And they would tend to be presented in a format as teen council, group discussion, or speaker or talks. These in-branch programs typically start indoors, and we will introduce the topic, explain the activities, and then go over the safety rules. We will also make sure all the waiver form that we needed are signed, and then we'll proceed with the outdoor activities, which is usually the very, very popular section of the program. One of our key goals here is to have our participants feeling comfortable and confident enough to call themselves or identify themselves as a citizen or neighborhood scientist by the time they leave the program that day. We will include hands-on STEM activities as a way to introduce the topic and keep them engaged. So over here, you see that we're doing clouds mobile, and that was actually an activity that was suggested, and that comes with the Globe Observer clouds module. For people who can't attend our programs or just not a program goer, we offer free learnable kits for them to participate at their own pace. And we also create facilitators kit for our librarians to run programs in the library, or for school teachers or educators to check them out and use them in the classroom. And here are some of the kits that we have created, and they were available for checkout. You can see here there's globe clouds, there's globe mosquito habitat mapper, there's water quality monitoring kit, globe and night light pollution monitoring kit, exploring biodiversity with using iNaturalist or Seek, and our newest addition was air quality monitoring kit. These facilitator kits turn out to be perfect for outreach, especially for school or classroom visits, or you're going to a girls and boys club or YMCA. And you can see that here are a couple photos of our librarian turn a regular classroom visit into a neighborhood science fun time with the entire class, showing them how to do water quality testing. And then they also get to be out in the schoolyard doing exploring biodiversity. And here's a couple more. We have 2 happy young citizen scientists here checking out the kits after attending an in-branch program. Now fast forward, then March 16 hits, safer at home or safer at home order due to COVID-19 went into effect in LA. So many of librarians like yourself, like myself, that we found almost like overnight, we have to become a social media influencer, digital content director or producer, Zoom expert, or computer technician. And this is actually happening to probably majority of the librarians in I want to say across the nation. So same thing for that. Our neighborhood science librarians here in NLIPL pretty much instantly began hosting programs both live and pre-recorded using Zoom, Google Meet, and also the social media channels such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. And I'm going to show you some examples that we did. So here's one that we reach out to our partners and convince them to, instead of cancel our in-branch program, cancel the program we had scheduled, we convinced them to join us online and become and co-host with us. Many of them really loved the idea and they really welcome that. Here's one that we did it with LA County Vector Control District, where they talk about mosquitoes. And then we use that as an opportunity to talk about the mosquito habitat mapping with Globe Observer. And then our librarians also continue to participate in the Global Citizen Science Month. That's usually every April. It's a whole month, and we did it for this year, 2020. We host a series of virtual citizen science workshop and creating and posting short citizen science projects and demo video feeds on the social media channels. We also discovered that this is the perfect time to invite subject matter experts to be our special guest, because a lot of them are idle at home, especially those that tend to travel a lot. They can't travel no more. So they would love to have that exposure to be in front of camera. So this is a perfect time to do that. And so I took the opportunity to invite a friend of mine who's a conservation photographer living in Sweden. And he's a really good friend with Dr. Sylvia Earle. So we did a talk together, and then I used that as an opportunity to introduce NASA's NEMONet Citizen Science Project. The second photo here you see, we also collaborated with SciStarter to co-host a couple of their sessions on Summer Reading Meets Citizen Science series. And they would typically match a librarian with a citizen science project developers or researchers or scientists to talk about the project. We also began incorporating some easy to do STEAM or making activities to tie to various citizen science projects as a way to keep people engaged to the program, and also things that we want to highlight. So over here, we did a virtual neighborhood science program to celebrate Plastic Free July 2020 by demonstrating how to make a bioplastic, and then asking our participants to contribute to Earth Challenge 2020 Plastic Pollution Citizen Science Project using their mobile app. We also did a lot of virtual neighborhood science story times addressing different environmental issues. And here we have a librarian who used the lesson plan coming from the elementary Globe at globe.gov to create a virtual neighborhood science program on air quality. And she also did a demonstration of STEM activity with her daughter. She had a blast, as you can tell from the photo. So of course, doing virtual program has its pros and cons, and they bring you opportunities and challenges. So here I want to quickly talk about the opportunities. So you will see that you would notice that your audience reach have expanded beyond local communities. You would notice that this is a perfect time to connect and meet with your with the subject matter experts or developers or citizen science projects. We notice that there is a parent intergenerational participant increased. The neighborhood science activities can really enhance teachers' science curriculum. And also we notice citizen science programs are actually considered fun at home activities. There's a lot of things, even though it's encouraging outdoor, but there's things you can do in your home. People's willingness to search for and trying out and contribute to different type of citizen science project have increased. And people are really more willing to turn their smart device into a convenient and effective scientific device to participate in citizen science. Now here comes the challenges. You would notice having virtual programming, you're competing with a whole bunch of other social media influencers on virtual events, virtual content. Your attendees probably constantly experiencing content, Zoom, social media fatigue. You have much shorter programming time because everybody has much shorter attention span. And there is a golden 6-second rule, meaning that you only have 6 seconds to capture your audience attention with your content. If you can't do that, they just swipe your content through. So no matter how much time and effort and sweat and tear you put in, it's yesterday's news. It's also very difficult for us to collect demographic data when it's with virtual participants. For us, because ours is a grant-funded project, we do need some demographic data, and it proved to be very difficult to capture that. You will run into technical issues. That's with internet, with computer crashing. Zoom decided to update their whole software in the middle of the day. These are all the drawbacks. And then you will run into digital divide and readiness issues. Audience that you try to reach may not have the equipment they need to join you. And also everyone's comfort level towards technologies can vary greatly when it comes to this. For us, the biggest drawback is that our libraries are closed. So all the amazing, fabulous neighborhood science kits that we've created, they cannot be checked out. So they're now sitting in our branches collecting dust. We're hoping that restriction will get removed soon. Last but not least, there's ADA compliance that you have to consider when you're putting anything online for us. Now I have some very quick tips to share with y'all when you do virtual neighborhood science programs. So I really want to tell you to please take advantage of Globe's resources. They have all the materials that you need that you can easily turn them into a virtual citizen science program. Reach out to the teachers in your address book for a virtual school or classroom visit and spin it into a citizen science activity time. You could do that in within 15 minutes. You don't even need a whole entire day. You can reach out to the teacher, and then the Globe observers have done a tremendous job in aligning their activities and modules to next generation science standards. So now if you can find out what science curriculum platform the teachers or school that you want to work with is using, and align your citizen science or neighborhood science programs to their curriculum, that will be your golden ticket to get a virtual classroom or a school visit. Create your virtual digital content around Environmental and Health Awareness Day, holidays, just kind of piggyback on that national or global campaign. It's a lot quicker to do the promotion. This is also the very best time to reach out to all the speakers you'd be wanted to invite and couldn't, either because they live so far or because of money issue. Even if at this point, because as I mentioned, people can't really travel. So even if they live on the other side of the globe, because you're doing virtually, most of them are very welcome the idea, and they really would agree to be your special speaker. And how to reach out to them. You can email, call, private messaging them. If you don't have their email, phone numbers, you can easily track them down or stalk them via social media. You can private messaging them using the features on that same feature on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. That's what I did. So Now, if you don't know where to find speakers, here is a quick list that I curated based on my own experience. That's how I found my speakers. And we'll be sharing this PowerPoint with you all. So you will have the list, you'll have this list to use. And with that, this concludes my presentation. And now it's my honor to introduce Brittany Blomquist from LaSalle Public Library.
Thank you, Vivienne. And I'm going to get my screen up here, everyone. Bear with me just a moment. Okay. Oops. Thank you, everyone. So again, my name is Brittany Blomquist. I am the Program Outreach Coordinator at the LaSalle Public Library, and I'm co-presenting today with Donna Blomquist. She is joining us in the chat. She is our Youth Services Librarian. And today we would like to share with you a few of the programs that we have done, both using Globe Observer in each of the different protocols, as well as within the context of larger Earth awareness programs and campaigns that we have done, and then taking the Globe Observer activities and extending them with supplementary programs to bring out that conversation, inspire our participants to engage more deeply in the subject material. So I'd like to introduce our library before we start, so you have an idea of kind of our parameters that we look to stay within for our library programs. LaSalle serves a community of about 10,000 people. We are in an economically depressed area, and we're also geographically isolated from outside science programs. So for our program participants to engage, they would have to drive over an hour away to have that same kind of access. So while our experiences are unique to us, each of the programs that we used are scalable to a variety of different ages, from youth to adult. They're suitable for individuals and families with varying levels of ability, and they also consider ADA compliancy, and adaptable to different challenges that you might encounter within your own communities that have different parameters, see different challenges, and can still be useful and accessible for your patrons as well. So like Vivienne had mentioned in her presentation as well, we have our previous considerations before COVID-19 happened. And for us, it mostly dealt with weather. Our one picture there of the two boys placing mosquito traps out in a public park was fantastic. We advertised it, we had perfect weather the day of the program. However, we had a follow-up program 2 weeks later where we were going to analyze the results in each of our traps. And unfortunately, a few days after that photo was taken, we had a very large snowstorm in the middle of April, and therefore our results were skewed, and we really didn't have anything for our follow-up program. So we were able to adapt quickly and still use materials from the Globe resources and the Globe mosquito protocol to engage our participants at that follow-up program, and everybody had just as much fun and was just as inspired to go out and do that same activity again at home. So as long as you consider different ways that your programs can be adapted within that constraint, your program participants will have just as much accessibility and access to that science information. Because LaSalle is economically depressed, we do have to work around a digital divide that we know our program participants have. Some may not have devices that have internet accessibility on them. Some may have Wi-Fi devices, but not necessarily an internet service to connect to outside of our library building. So when we visit off-site locations such as public parks to do our Globe observations, we make sure to have either a library hotspot with us or a different method of recording our data so that users can still participate when they return back to our building. New considerations since COVID-19 came into our library lives have to do with location. So for many of our Globe programs, we did use public spaces, and we went as a group. So not only were we making individual observations, but we were making group observations and having group discussions. And with social distancing and different mandates that have been put in place at local and state levels, we have to reconsider how we access our area to make observations from. The picture on the right there is actually a picture we posted on social media to continue the discussion post in-person program. And it's of a drain pipe that is behind our library building in an alley. And that photo actually gave our program participants two different things. One, it gave them a way to participate and observe from home using something as simple as a Facebook app on their phone. And it also gave them an idea of new places to look for different habitats. They might have thought previously that to observe a mosquito habitat, you had to be in a very natural environment. And they may not have thought that an urban setting or their own backyard would be a place for those kinds of observations. So it opened their eyes to new places to look and new places to observe while staying at home and not necessarily participating as a group. Another challenge that our library, and I'm sure your libraries have faced as well, is the way that your facility operates. Some are operating remotely with staff at home. Some are operating with minimal staff in the building, but curbside service for your patrons, and some are completely open to the public. In the community surrounding our library in LaSalle, Illinois, we have a varying degree of all of those situations. So not only are we tailoring our programs to fit the restrictions in our community as to what our services can be, but we also try to adapt them so that people from other communities in the neighboring areas are also able to participate in ways that they expect within their own communities. So early in, let me see if I can get that to advance there, I apologize. There we go. Earlier in the year, when our library was operating remotely, we immediately brought all of our programs into a digital format. And we did that a variety of ways. We definitely utilized Zoom, which is what we're using for today's webinar. That has varying levels of features that you can use from either free to a paid subscription, but it is very user-friendly, as I'm sure you've found. And it was a quick way for us to engage our program participants in a virtual format. We also utilized Facebook Live, which not only advertises your program because it's in a social media format. Users can share the live feed, they can make comments, they can react to things. But it's also something that participants can access on their phone through the Facebook app and not necessarily have to have a certain piece of technology. As long as they can access enough data to run that Facebook app, they should be able to access your program. And it's also recorded that way, so people can access it after the fact if that would be the time that they are able to connect to the internet. Another way we reached our program participants digitally was by facilitating recorded programs or recorded TED Talks. So we would stream these live with intervals of recorded information, as well as create a written guide where users could step themselves through the links. Again, if you didn't have internet access all the time, when you did and had time to go through the program at your own pace, you were able to access it just like everybody else did during the live feed. The social media offered us a great opportunity because one of the key features of any program, either in person or digital, is the discussion that that program inspires. And we did that two ways. We did that using Facebook groups. So we created a group for each one of our Globe Observer protocols, as well as creating a Google My Map. So when we would encourage our program participants to do an activity at home, we would have them log where they placed a mosquito mapper or where they took cloud observations. And then as a group, we could track where these activities were happening and have an interactive discussion on what might be occurring in one place compared to a different location. So it gave that element of interactivity and group discussion while still remaining in a virtual world. And our third program that we launched digitally was a continuity program of digital achievements. And in the image there, I have two of them featured. One was Recycling Rocks, which integrated two of the Globe Observer protocols in its goals, as well as Eyes to the Sky, which incorporated just the Globe Observer cloud protocol. And I'd like to explain a little bit more about that in detail. So with those two programs, they were badging programs. And the website we chose to use for this was badger.com. It should be included in the link bank, which I think I saw posted in the chat a little bit earlier on. Badger and the free badging program that they offer was very flexible for us to not only set up from remote locations, but for our patrons to access. You can access it via a laptop, via a cell phone, as long as you have a way to connect to the internet. It's very adaptable. It's free access, it's easy to design. The badges that we created, you can see the Eyes to the Sky one on the screen there, was created using clip art that Badger already offered. You have the option of creating your own clip art or just using text. You can design it however it works best for your program. Each participant who signs up gets a digital backpack online where they can display their awards and achievements. And not only does that give them a sense of accomplishment, but it also lets them share that with the other participants, and it encourages more people to be more active. The achievements can also be awarded via email or text. So again, thinking of that digital divide, users can either download the award certificate and badge immediately, or they can receive it on their cell phone as a picture text message. To create the badging program, there's really only two main parts to that program structure, and that is one of the features that makes it so versatile. If you are working with a small group of participants or a small amount of staff, you can adjust this structure to work best for your organization. The first part of that structure is to set goals for your program. So in the case of Eyes to the Sky, we had participants complete 5 globe cloud observations. In the case of the Recycling Rocks badging program, we asked that one of the goals be to collect a plastic bottle, either out of their recycling bin or have a neighbor save one for them, but in some way recycle a bottle that they could use to build a mosquito trap out of. So not only did that encourage them to recycle and bring Earth awareness into their lives, but it also encouraged them to try other protocols in the Globe Observer program. With this one, it would be the mosquito habitat tracker. The second part of the Recycling Rocks program involved the Globe Observer Trees program, and it encouraged users to not only go out and take tree observations, but it extended that program, which I will show you some pictures later on, into the arts. The second part of the program structure is tracking the participation. And again, this can be done a variety of ways. It can be done using Globe Teams, like Theresa talked about earlier. It can be done using Facebook group posts, which is very easy for folks to access via their cell phone. And it can be done with paper tracking. Again, this can be something as simple as a paper they return with their checked out library books, or it could be something they take a screenshot of and email in to a library email address. So with our extension activities, as time went on, our library did open to be a hybrid of remote and curbside service. And while we loved how our digital programs were going and how much our patrons liked them and were excited about them, we did want to remain hands-on as well. So with our curbside service, we offered patrons a variety of take-home kits that they could use alongside the Globe Observer protocols to extend the conversation further. So on the left are two different pictures complementing the same program. We encouraged teens and adults in the left picture to take rocks that they may have found outside and twigs that they may have found while making tree observations to make rock art using natural materials. And that program was adaptable to a younger age group as well by using rock painting. In the second picture there, you can see the middle rock on the bottom has an image of a tree, which we asked the participants to depict a tree that they had made an observation of. And then below that are the GPS coordinates that one would find while making a Globe Observer tree observation. That can be extended beyond just the Globe Observer protocols to a larger Earth awareness theme, again with the rock there that says Earth Day, or just using a kind of pointillist technique to do different designs of different trees. The two images on the right are different types of origami leaves that we asked participants to make out of recycled materials. And this was the second part of the Recycling Rocks program that extended into another Globe protocol. So we had our younger participants do the origami leaves you see on the left in the third picture there. And then we asked our adult participants to make more of a leaf collage using different recycled materials. So you can see on the picture on the bottom right, some very texturized leaves as a leaf collage there. And those texturized leaves actually got that texture from the security envelopes you see on the top left of the center picture there. So we really encourage program participants to be extremely creative using recycled materials to achieve different goals. And one of our goals in structuring that for our Recycling Rocks program was that we wanted to have our program participants use things that they already had at home. We didn't expect them to need to go out and buy something or use a material that they might not have access to, especially with COVID-19 restrictions in place. So we really encourage people to get creative and reuse paper and use different kinds of art materials they already had at home. These last three hands-on projects I'd like to share with you today also centered around the Globe Observer Trees app. The one on the left was a 3D origami tree. And the center picture and the right picture are an origami bracelet using recycled printer paper. And again, our leaf collage, leaf cutouts. And collecting those leaves and having them depict a tree that our participant might have observed. Another way to adapt that program is to take the bracelet and have users collect things that they might have seen outside in their own backyard or while out making observations with the tree app. And for all of these hands-on programs, the three on this page and the ones on this page as well, we have included links for you to access the different activities and different templates in the link bank. And if there are any questions or things I can clarify, please feel free to ask it in the question and answer box. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Claire.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to just share my screen real quick. Let's see. Sorry for the delay. All righty. All right, well, we have just a couple minutes left and we'd love to hear from you all. What are some of your ideas for doing Earth and citizen science during COVID-19? We would love if you could share that in the chat. Hopefully you got a bunch of great ideas from our facilitators today, but yeah, just if anything, if that sparked any ideas for you, we'd love to hear it. Yes, the rock crafts seem to be a very popular in the chat. I want to try that out myself. And it looks like Vivienne's going to try the leaf bracelet with her nephews this weekend. So lots of fun things to do, even just in our own time. All right, and Stephanie just dropped that link bank again in the chat. So that has links to all of the resources that we talked about today. And Barbara has a great idea, contacting speakers to talk via virtual outlets. Yeah, one of the good things that comes out of COVID is we have more access to guest speakers. You can have a guest speaker from all the way across the world join in virtually. Awesome. And another great idea Brittany is sharing is for building partnerships would be to partner with a school or library that has curbside service if you are working remotely and can't connect materials to your participants. Absolutely, that's a great idea. Awesome. Well, when the webinar ends, you will be redirected to a survey where this question will come up again. So we hope to hear more of your ideas for how you can do Earth and citizen science during COVID-19. Once again, I just want to remind everybody there is another webinar coming up about the Globe Observer Citizen Science public training. That's September 3rd at 1 o'clock Mountain Time. The link to register is in that link bank. So we would love for you guys to, if you're interested and want to learn more, you can get a public training September 3rd. All right, and as always, please remember to check out our STEM Activity Clearinghouse if you need activity ideas. We have a whole collection that Theresa has been talking about, but yeah, Our Planet Earth is a campaign with all kinds of ways to celebrate and love and care for our planet. So, all right, with that, I think we are just at the top of the hour, so feel free to shoot us any questions via email. All of our contact information is on that link bank, and we hope you all have a great day.